Last week, I was asked if I could go through Racing Rules of Sailing rule number 18.2F right at the end of that really long rule. And then this weekend, there were a few clear situations where this rule would actually apply, even though it is reasonably obscure as a rule. So first I'll take you through what the rule says, then look through the whiteboard, then you can take a look at some videos of 3 different situations that are pretty chaotic on the race course, and you can look through to see if you could find a situation where people are not allowed to get room because of 18.2F. And look at some other situations where people have avoided breaking that rule and taken advantage of the situation to their benefit. So this is mostly in the radial fleet, but the first video also has full rigs that are trying to get to a different situation on a different destination on a very skewed race course. Okay, I've made some other videos about Rule 18, so I'll treat this as more of a review, but just to collect all the different things you need to know. Check the definitions. Overlap, that's really important for understanding the angles of how boats are oriented to be overlapped or to not be overlapped. That's especially important in boats that sail big angles downwind. It's not always super obvious. Room is a good definition to read because that's the one that has the word seaman-like or sjömansmässig, if I'm pronouncing that right in Swedish. Mark room is the definition that talks about the 3 boat lengths. So those are really important to take a look at. Then 18.1 talks about when Rule 18 applies. So not on a beat to windward, not when one boat is going to have to tack to make the mark and the other boat can just sail straight to the mark, except that after this boat tacks in the zone, then 18.3 applies. So that's a little bit misleading. So Rule 18 does not apply between a boat leaving a mark and a boat coming towards a mark. It doesn't apply to continuing obstruction. That would be Rule 19. So that's not usually cited because it's about what the rule doesn't cover. Then Rule 18.2 is more helpful. You have the basic rule. When boats are overlapped, the outside boat shall give the inside boat mark room unless B. So that was A that I was reading. Then B sort of talks about how the most important moment is when the first of the 2 boats touches the circle. So at that point, is the other boat overlapped or clear astern? Then C talks about how if this boat gets a speed burst and then slows down, just because they broke the overlap inside of the circle doesn't mean they no longer. So mark room still holds, even if this overlap is broken, and this boat still gets mark room over that boat, even if it sails slowly and this boat gains a new overlap inside of the zone. So just emphasizing that the key moment is is when the first boat enters the zone, not if anything changes thereafter. Then D is a kind of a funny one. The rule ceases to apply if someone tacks or leaves the zone. That's a Z. Then E, I really like this one because there's often arguments about whether there's mark room or not. 18.2E says that if there's reasonable doubt that an overlap was established or that an overlap was broken, you presume that it didn't happen. So that sort of lets you say, okay, well, what happened before? And if you can prove what happened before, and then someone made a move right at the mark or right at the zone, you can argue that it was done too late. Now, F is the one that we were talking about, and I usually draw this sort of comical theoretical situation. First, I'll just read the whole rule. where are we here? If a boat obtained an inside overlap from clear astern or from tacking to windward of another boat, and from the time the overlap began, the outside boat has been unable to give mark room, she is not required to give it. I've drawn a ridiculous pile up here, and these boats are moving slowly downwind, let's say, and this boat comes in quickly, gains overlap on that boat, and this happens before the 3 boat length circle, and so this boat says, I'm gonna need mark room. So if there was no 18.2F, this boat would somehow have to give that boat mark room, even though there's just not physical space to give that room. What 18.2F does is it discourages this boat from even gaining overlap. This boat should sail over here, wait for the chaos to finish, or maybe go to the other gate mark, or maybe do a wide rounding, or maybe just luff inside the zone for a moment, waiting for this to clear up before they go through. So this sounds too weird and theoretical to happen, but if you look at these videos that I took this weekend, so they were exaggerated because there was a little bit of current, but I think a lot of laser sailors, ILCA sailors, can sort of recognize this, that you can see a situation in front of you that's going badly. So if it's starting to look chaotic, you may actually not have the right to claim mark room, even though you otherwise would. So if it's too busy inside of the 3 boat length circle or around the mark, and the boat that would owe you mark room is not able to get to give you enough space to get around the mark, they don't have to. That's not their fault. Now let's take a look at some crazy situations where this might apply. Victor going to the other gate. It's kind of a fun move. Like, the other gate's way downwind, but you get clean air. Oh, this is a disaster. Now the problem here, there's a number of problems. But the problem here is that if you miss the gate because of, say, 4 knots of current, it's not that much. But if you miss the gate, you can't get redress even if you were fouled. That's not something you can get redress for unless there was injury or equipment damage. So you have to force your way around if you have right of way, the way the rules are written, which is unfortunate. Carl not having the time of his life. And then, so the other tricky thing is that you're not allowed to try to get room if the boat who's required to give you room has been unable to do so from the moment the overlap was established. That's that 18.2F way down in the list. So a bunch of those boats who tried to get inside, or who smashed through trying to get overlap, might not have been entitled to it based on 18.2. We're getting a lot of video evidence of rule breakage. Now the other sort of unfortunate thing is these boats who are like, I'm gonna do a Victor and go to the less busy mark, but they're literally stuck on a treadmill. Like there's no way around there. They don't have enough wind to get around that mark. So like at some point, are you gonna give up? These boats are stubborn. Yeah, but say protest. Alright, now Emma can pass 100 boats here. Emma and Axel.